Hello, and welcome to this episode where we're going to talk about the combined finals in the Swedish Championship. I just quickly wanted to showcase the van because it's starting to get somewhat presentable, which I think is really cool. We got lights installed, and I fixed up the electrical system so that we can start having like big ass parties in here.
What?
It's something to think about. And I just wanted to briefly give you guys an idea of what it's starting to look like. We're gonna do a ton more work before we're ready to leave, but every day, like, a lot of things are happening, which is really cool. But anyways, today we're gonna take a look at the lead finals and the combined finals. We've done 2 days of climbing prior to this, which was the lead qualis, boulder qualis, and bouldering finals. And now we're gonna see what our completely shredded bodies and shredded skin could do on the walls in the final day of the event. Let's take a look at what happened.
Before the lead finals start, all the climbers get to view the route beforehand and discuss a little bit what they think the beta is. I'll be honest here, since I was so tired, I had a really hard time understanding the difficulty of this route. I don't know, when I'm tired, I think that everything is gonna be incredibly hard and very physical, but the start of this route felt very safe. I felt secure on the wall. I figured for this episode, since in the last one we talked a lot about the mental game of competition and a lot of things that went wrong, in this episode I figured we could check through some of the more technical aspects of the competition climbing and see just what went well and what didn't go well. So to start off here, I have a pretty good flow. I'm not really climbing at the most efficient speed. Usually when I sport climb or lead climb, I can be quite fast because I don't have the greatest endurance. Here I'm a little bit slower and trying to take it more secure. This is to some degree quite good because all of my foot placements are, they're okay, they're good. I don't think I had any big chance of falling off yet. But here is when I start fumbling a little bit because this clip should be quite easy if you hold the left hand on the box, but instead I used a lot of brute strength, and let's just reverse a little bit there. So see, when I'm making this clip right now, my right foot is just dangling and literally doing nothing. And what this does is cause a lot of, it just gets me really tired for the next move, which was the first actually really hard move. If we take a look at it again. So this move that I'm falling off of is this is the first move where you have to really figure out how to position yourself and try hard. Moves before it, you could actually get away with just being a little bit stronger and just knowing that the holds would feel good for you.
So after the lead finals, it was time for the combined event, which meant that we were going to do one round of bouldering consisting of 3 boulders and then one final combined route. And the person who performed best in those 2 rounds would be crowned the winner of the event. For some reason, I was actually starting to feel a lot more energetic after the lead finals. I was kind of thinking okay, well, this could actually go quite well. So I was going into the finals with a pretty good mindset, which was pretty fun. Let's start off with the bouldering round.
So the same thing goes for bouldering finals. We get to view the boulders beforehand, and this one looked incredibly easy in the grade, but very difficult. You could easily fall off here. You can't really see the first hole that I'm jumping to. It's blocked by the volume. So what I decided, I guess, is that, I'm just gonna be confident and give it, know in my heart that I'm gonna flash it, and then just the outcome will be whatever it is, but kind of have the idea that this is gonna be a really, really easy boulder if I want it to be. But if I'm insecure, if I'm slow about it, then it's going to be a lot more difficult. Then the second boulder was a pure power test piece. It actually is a kind of boulder that suits my style really well, but I decided to have more of a strategy in this part of the competition than the previous parts, so I decided to only give myself 2 goes on this boulder and make them count very, very much so. So in this section, there's a lot of things to take a look at, and primarily these foot placements they're a little bit tricky because you're very offset on the right, so it's hard to get any tension from the left foot, and it's almost like you want to campus it. But the fact that I got my left foot up quite as much as I did here was quite crucial for me to keep myself on the wall. There was not a lot of pulling power left in my body, so making good usage of every single position was crucial here. So after the first attempt, as I mentioned, I limited myself to 2, so I had like 3 minutes left on the clock. So I decided to rest for 2, try and relax and rest for the final attempt. When this one came in, I was a little bit clumsy. We can take a look here again what happened. So like here, when I'm jumping out, I don't really focus so much on doing everything perfectly, partly because the moves here were a little bit easier than the rest, but it's a bit of a mistake because I'm gonna need every inch of power that I have. See, here is what I meant about the fact that you can campus and cut loose a little bit, and I guess for some climbers it might be enough to just keep on campusing, but I had to really get a lot of tension in on the left foot there that I'm standing on right now in order to do the match, which actually did pan out quite well. This last move that I punted off on the previous burn, I had this idea here that I wanted to go right hand again instead from the lower box, because that's a little bit of a jug. And I think it would have been a really good call to do so, because what happened right after was that I didn't have it in me to pull when I put my right foot out on the right. So yeah, second boulder didn't go as well as I wanted it to. Lastly was this slab. And I was actually terrified when I saw this one, because it looked like it had a bunch of really tricky... Well, the start looked really tricky. I'm not actually the greatest at starting on these run and jumps, but it did end up going quite well. And the rest of the slab was more difficult to read. The right hand, or like the big purple hold, is actually a pretty good jug undercling. I mean, it's a proper jug. It's one of the best holds I've seen on a slab ever. But the thing is, it's a little bit too far on the right, and for me, it was quite tricky to move around it. After a few attempts, I did manage to stay a little bit higher up with my body when I was going into it, which meant that I could get my right hand down on the black box and move around the box a little bit more. So when I had this position, it actually went really easily. I mean, it was the least demanding move of the entire competition, I'd say. So for the last boulder, this final mantle was something that looked... I mean, it was incredibly hard to read. None of us really knew what to do, because you had this purple hold up on the right that seemed almost unusable. And here, I only had 20 seconds left to go, so I was starting to feel stressed. I was starting to try and figure out a smooth way of getting to the top, but I was going back and forth. What I wanted to do was mantle off the left foot up on the box on the left. But the thing is, it's sometimes these mantle moves they're such a hit or miss, because if you do them incorrectly, you're just gonna fall right off. So you only have one chance. And since the purple hold seemed, well, it's gotta be there for something, I was doubting myself, and in the end, I didn't have it in me to finish the boulder. Last up was the lead route in the combined finals. I was currently in 3rd position because I flashed the first boulder in the bouldering combined finals, and I knew that if I performed quite well on this route, I would make 3rd place. I would get a bronze medal, which would have been really cool. So I wanted to give my all, and I actually had recovered a little bit. I felt weirdly energetic hopping on this route. It had a lot of my type of holds on it, like exceptionally good holds for being for being a competition route. A lot of physical and bouldery moves, I would say, on it. Like, they're not the most typical route climbing moves, because the hold that I jumped to right there, for instance, that's a pretty big jug. So recovering wouldn't be too much of an issue on this route. The only issue is that I'm terrible at recovering on the route, so I wasn't sure if I would be able to regardless. But yeah, I knew that if I could make it through some of these bouldery sections, I would get a lot of good usage out of it, because I could potentially actually rest for once on a route. So here we can see that most things, like, I'm starting to get a little bit more fatigued here, and my technique is failing slowly but steadily. So like, I'm not really focusing too much on my footwork. I'm pulling more with my arms, because that's usually what happens when I get a little bit more tired. I'm like tensing my body inwards to maintain tension on the wall. Like, I'm smearing on the wall instead of using the footholds. I'm pulling more, doing desperate moves. I did actually manage to use my heel hook here quite well to reduce a lot of the pressure on the right arm, which was quite crucial for me to make it further. And this hold was actually quite good when I have one left arm. So I started to realize like, okay, I can probably get a little bit of a rest here, which is going to be very important for me to progress here. I knew that the first climber out was like got really far on the route, so I also had some pressure on me to perform, because I figured that okay, you're gonna have to get high on this route in order to do well. And the next move here was like, it's a pretty big coordination dyno that it's quite uncommon that you see this type of move in a competition route, but usually I'm not the best at doing coordination dynos, but I have quite a bit of experience with it, so if it's not too difficult, it's gonna go. So I felt rather safe here for this move. I felt like, okay, this is gonna be comfortable. And the rest before was so good that it's gonna be more of like it's gonna be like you were well rested for the move. I figured that if I was too tired, then yeah, it can be a little bit more difficult, but given how much I've been resting, I figured like, okay, this is just gonna be about thinking that you're going to be able to do it, like being comfortable, and then it's going to feel relatively easy. So I jump up and I hit it with good technique. Nothing really major to talk about there. I could have been a little bit smoother or like softer in the landing. I think that's the thing that happens when you're a little bit more tired, is that you get more stiff. If you're with these type of coordination moves, you want to be as gentle and soft as possible in order to reduce the momentum to as best you can. And I managed to not really reduce it, but I managed to land really well on the hold, which was enough for me to stick it. This was also like a proper, a very, very good hold. So at this point, I could actually fully rest, I would say. Like it's not a full rest, of course, because you've been climbing a ton, you're tired, you're nervous. I was looking at the clock and thinking like, okay, I don't have a ton of time. But yeah, so I kept on moving, knowing that I had enough time to do the entire route if I was just, if I could keep it together for the entire route. So I kept on going. Here it got a little bit more technical, a little bit crimpier. Again, finger strength felt good here, so I felt like, okay, if I just keep it together, this is gonna go well. And technically I wasn't moving I was moving well here, I'd say, given how long I'd been climbing on the route. I think that was just a case of being able to rest. So here I come into a rather tricky lean in over move, and we're going to talk about just what happened there. So if we reverse a little bit, so if you take a look at where my ass is right now, it needs to be way further on the right, as well as take a look at the left knee. I mean, if I'm going to be in this position, I need to have it a lot further up on the left, since it's very tweaked in towards the wall. It's hard to rotate out of this position without purely pulling from my arms. So if I had moved my body like 40-50 centimeters to the right instead, I think this would have stuck quite easily. But instead I fell off. So I think that was like the big mistake for this final, was actually not doing this, like committing to that move and making it count. So that was unfortunate. I felt good on the wall. I felt like I could have kept on going, but I messed up. I made a mistake, and yeah, it was a good lesson. It's the big lesson is to try hard in the future competitions. Regardless, I did make a bronze medal in the combined Swedish finals, and that was pretty cool. Alongside me was in second place Mr. Hannes Puman, who I'm sure a lot of you know from different IFC World Cups, World Championships, and he's just generally an insanely strong dude who, he performed extremely excellent, as he always does. And in first place we have our good mate Frederick, who he won the combined finals, and I was sick to see. The thing is, Hannes had he had won the previous rounds in bouldering and lead, so it was kind of time for somebody else to also win the gold medal. So I was happy for Frederick. It was well deserved. He had been crushing it all weekend, but it just hadn't quite made the first place in the comps before. So he deserved this one for sure. So that was it for the event. Again, big congratulations to Frederick, who crushed it all. He's actually going to be in the next episode, so if you don't want to miss out on that, then subscribe and click the bell and get ready for it. It's probably going to drop in a few days. And yeah, aside from that, if you have any comments or anything like that, then drop them in the section down below and give a thumbs up if you like the video. Peace out, folks. Wow. Wow.